Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christopher Sherman. I'm from the John C. Stennis Space Center in South Mississippi, and I'm here today with you to draw out the Artemis spacecrafts of the SLS, the Space Launch System, and the Orion Spacecraft. Okay, I'm going to start by drawing the Sls Rocket. SLS stands for Space Launch System. And I'm going to start at the very topmost point of the rocket, which is where you'd find the launch abort. The launch abort system is a safety mechanism for the astronauts in case something goes wrong with the rocket during the launch. Well, the astronauts will be safely pulled away from the rocket at the early stages of the accident. Now, on both sides of what looks like a tower are two motors, and on the bottom of those two motors is the attachment to the Orion spacecraft, which is located just underneath the launch abort section. The Orion spacecraft, when you're looking at the entire SLS rocket, doesn't seem that large, but it's encased inside this section. Below that is the exploration upper stage housing, and there will be an attachment umbilical that hooks the Orion spacecraft to the control systems of the SLS rocket. I'm just making curved lines to represent the segments that attach the rocket, because the curve kind of gives you the shape of a rocket in general. Now, at the top of the rocket, it looks narrower than the rest of the body of the SLS rocket. To adapt from the exploration upper stage to the main body of the rocket, the core stage, you've got an adapter section that also has the controls for flight of the main portion of the rocket. Now, the core stage is primarily two big tanks. The top tank is for liquid oxygen, and the bottom tank is liquid hydrogen. And you see me drawing that out now. The bottom tank is a little larger than the top tank because it takes twice as much hydrogen as oxygen when you're combusting liquid hydrogen with oxygen. Now, each of these portions of the rocket, not really drawn to scale here, they have their own purpose. So this inner stage section is super strong, and it allows for the connection of two other boosters along the side of the rocket. Now, these boosters, they don't run on liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen like the core stage booster. They are solid rocket boosters, like what we had on the shuttle, except with an added part that makes them a little more powerful. Now, those solid rocket boosters, they burn about 2 minutes, and then they come off the side of the rocket because they provide the initial thrust to get your rocket going in the first place. Each of these solid rocket boosters is built by Orbital ATK. And like with the shuttle, these solid rocket boosters, they put out about 3.6 million pounds of thrust apiece for the SLS rocket at launch. and there's one on each side. At the base of the core stage are the liquid-fueled rocket engines built by Aerojet Rocketdyne. These are RS-25s. There are 4 of them at the base of the SLS core stage, and you'd see them down here at the base. Now, this launch system, this middle section here, is what provides the lift possible for lifting tons and tons of cargo into space. This small top section up here, it usually has up to 4 RL-10 engines. That's going to take something that's already reached orbit into deep space, which requires a little bit faster of a speed. Now, what we're launching with the SLS rocket to go to the moon is the Orion Spacecraft. The Orion Spacecraft, located up here at the top of the rocket, is sealed beneath the launch abort system. And this is what's going to take our astronauts, the next man and the first woman ever, to the lunar South Pole when we launch our Artemis mission to land on the moon. Now, the Artemis spacecraft of Orion was built by Lockheed Martin, and it has its own propulsion system, propulsion engine just underneath it. And you can see that this piece would be tucked in here at the top of the rocket. Now, the symbol for our new Artemis program is an A for Artemis over the Earth, which is our launch starting point, headed to the moon, which I'm going to place here in the background of my A. Now, of course, we launch from the Earth, and this represents the path that we're going to be taking to the moon. And this is the symbol that you're going to see for Artemis when you look for the program. Of course, our destination is the moon. Now, I drew this today with a Sharpie. What I tend to do is draw with a pencil first. And then after I draw with a pencil, I'll follow up with my ink pen, making permanent the marks that I like the most. The reason I drew it with a Sharpie today was because it showed up better with my camera that I'm using to show you guys how to do it. But as you draw it out, think about the pieces. First at the top, you have the launch abort system. It's the safety mechanism for our astronauts. Beneath that is where the astronauts are riding, and the Orion spacecraft and the Orion capsule is located beneath this cover right here. Below that is the exploration upper stage, which will send you into deep space to destinations like the moon with 1 RL-10 engine or 4 RL-10 engines if you're taking a lot of cargo with you. Those engines would be tucked away in the adapter to the core stage, which is the main body that you see here of the rocket. This top section is the liquid oxygen portion. This bottom section here is the liquid hydrogen, and the bottom section is larger because you need twice as much liquid hydrogen as you need liquid oxygen. On the left and the right are solid rocket boosters that are going to provide close to 3.6 million pounds of thrust for the first 2 minutes of launch. And then they're going to fall away. On the bottom of the core stage are 4 RS-25 rocket engines, like what we used on the shuttle, just modified for our new SLS Space Launch System rocket. The Orion spacecraft, heat located here, is going to be powered by these 4 solar panels that you find on the main truss and the body of this service module built by the European Space Agency. This has been a project for many years with many different companies, Lockheed Martin being the main organization for the Orion spacecraft, Boeing being the main contractor, the main organization for the rocket itself, Orbital ATK being the main contractor for the solid rocket boosters, and even foreign countries such as the European Space Agency, which contributed the service module section of the Orion spacecraft. Thank you for tuning in with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. I hope you guys now have a better understanding of what's been going on with NASA and the Artemis program, and I look forward to us all landing on the moon. Thank you. Have a nice day.